Are you waiting for me?
You'll start recording whenever you want. You probably started recording already.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Somebody lead me. I'm practicing being led this year.
Light?
Being led.
Led. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a few different words for the year.
Yeah, well, it's a few different words in order to get to one particular outcome. Turns out multiple pathways is the way to do it. You got to come at it from every angle.
With a non-attachment. Note to self.
It's a holistic shift.
Yeah. I was just listening to another podcast and she was saying that she was in meditation and she just felt her whole axis shift. Like, wow. All right. Maybe that's the year. That's the energy that is
I would
in
love
the universe
to have that
right
happen
now
during meditation. I'm just like, I'm here. Usually I feel like my axis shifts when I get punched in the face. I'm like, ooh, gotta learn how to readjust to take that one.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome, Whitney. Thank you for joining me
My
today.
absolute pleasure.
Yes. So this is called My Favorite Life. And one of the first questions that I ask everyone thus far is, what does it mean to live your favorite life?
Well, this is great timing for this question because I am intentionally spending time building my favorite life this year. That's what this whole year is about. And so for me, what it is about, it's about time freedom. It's about connection. It's about feeling supported. It's about living into myself as an artist. And it's about experiencing peace and freedom as I move through my commitments.
Lovely. Lovely. Easier said than
to
done,
put it
right?
lightly. We'll see how that goes.
Well, what you said, many pathways can lead to an outcome, a goal, a destiny, whatever word might be suitable. So within all of this, what are you finding are the things that are really lighting you up? Whether it be, you mentioned being an artist, and I've known you as a photographer, also learning of your writings. Like, are there other things that are lighting you up in this moment?
So my word for 2025 is artist. And I chose it because it's an identity that I had rejected up until now. So I have my BFA, Bachelor's of Fine Arts. I went to school for, undergrad in arts. I have my MFA, so I went to grad school for art and used to spend my time making art, making photos that would go on walls. And my grad school work was a lot of performance art, using myself. And there was a point during grad school that I really started to reject, even while I was in that identity, started to reject the identity of the artist. Mostly because I didn't feel accepted by that community. It was the one place that I had shown up that I was like, oh, people don't really like me here. Which is not true when I look back. I can see that that was very much my own filter, but I never really felt like I fit in with the artist community. And when I found portraiture, when I found photographing people, not just for art, but for commercial purposes, and I found that I could use my personality to create art within a person, to make them feel like their best version of themselves, I really leaned into that. And I took what used to be art and I made it a product. I made me a product. I made my process a product. I made everything a product and a system. I made it profitable. I made it work. And in doing that, I shifted totally from what we would call like a feminine creative energy into a profitable masculine energy. And you're nodding because I know that you can see what likely happened to me during that time.
Yes.
But what I started to realize a couple of years ago is that I didn't like photographing anymore. It wasn't fun. I'm way too good at doing the thing that I do. And there was no art in it. And most people that I attract as clients don't like to play because they're in too much fear to play. And that's exactly why they're there. I want them to be there. I want to hold them in that space and get them to the other side. But I had lost play. I had lost the art. So it started with me, reclaiming my art just started by starting to take film photos again. So I left my digital camera at home when I traveled. I started shooting rolls and rolls of film. I just got back from Bali and developed 12 rolls, and I'm trying to go through all of those now. And I'm like, just the magic of that. And this year, when I chose artist, I chose it specifically because an artist experiments. And an artist is not attached, and an artist lives in the moment, lives in the creative energy. An artist embraces the unique, the messy, multiple materials. And I wanted to live in that kind of expansion this year.
To allow yourself to be raw and real, and letting go of the perhaps being good.
Perhaps that, yeah. Yeah. 100%, because it doesn't always look good when you're creating art. It just doesn't.
It can be downright messy.
It can be downright messy, and I am a professional at making everything look really good. It's actually what I'm best at. Making people look good, making messages sound good, presenting myself so that it looks good. And when you're creating art, that's not the metric. And in fact, it's often the antithesis to the process. So, yeah, messy, not good.
What is your relationship then to being messy, being raw, knowing that part of your life was so in this masculine consciousness, get it right, be perfect, be the good girl? Can I say that?
My website in grad school was Good Girl Arts, so I was playing with the trope. I'm familiar.
So what do you find that your relationship to this shift has been?
From the good girl to the artist, or from the masculine to the feminine, or can you ask that again, maybe?
All of it. Because for me, there's an invitation to bring those qualities, the consciousness and with the flow, to bring them into harmony. I need them both. I need them both. To live this human experience, I need both the heights, the depths. How to navigate skillfully in these waves and these qualities. And not that one is any better than the other. They exist.
But it's about, finding your own balance within yourself. And I think, okay, so what's my relationship to that? I haven't thought about this. I have and I haven't. But when I think about being an artist and what I get to create in myself in order to live in the mess, step away from the good girl, step away from the perfection, step away from reputation even, and safeguarding a very specific kind of reputation. To me, why it's coming up now is that I have a level of confidence and groundedness in myself that people's opinions of me can't take anymore. I don't know that I could have made this choice up until this point. And I think there's something that was very safe about staying in the masculine systematized, this is what I do, this is how I produce. I know it was safe. But it also wasn't. It's safe in terms of small. It's safe in terms of expected. But the personal, emotional consequences of that, of not speaking my truth, not having any real true creative energy, even when everyone experiences me as a creative, I'm like, y'all, this is not it. Maybe it is for you, but it's not for me. I hope I'm creating a creative experience for you, but you're paying me to do that. And so the exploration of art for me is taking the risk to do things that are unpaid, not profitable. I support myself for a living. It's just me. It's just me and the money that I bring in, and I support other people with that. So there is a risk in becoming an artist? Can I trust what I produce to be good enough to still be accepted in a masculine capitalistic world? I don't know. Can I trust my mess to make money? And you still have to build a system around it, because as I'm pursuing writing, there's still a system that you still have to have commitment and consistency, and like none of that goes away just because I chose to be an artist. Like, I'm so glad I built these skills, but now I feel like the fear is more about leaning into the raw and leaning into the raw bits of writing and then figuring out how to systematically produce that, because it's already tanked me once or twice before. Like, can I make writing a thing without losing my love of writing? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Maybe that's the question for all creatives and all entrepreneurs is, can I make a go of this? Can I let go of the attachment to the money?
Yeah.
And do what I love?
Or can I let go of what I felt like I had to let go of, or what I've let go of several times, is when I started the photography, it was fun. And it still is fun. There's still moments that are very fun. And as I readjust my relationship to that work, my client work, it's becoming more fun because I don't need it the same way, because I have art in other areas. But I also now realize that job is a job. And where most people would see that as a creative outlet, I'm like, no, that's my 9 to 5. And I've just let that be that. And so that's, I guess, what I would think when we talk about entrepreneurs. It's like, whatever it is, if you're a creative person, you practice yoga. Well, that is your essence. That's what you build, but it's also a very creative expression. But it is also your job. And when you do something for a living, it requires something completely different of you than when you just do it for you.
And that's something that I'm continuing to learn and embrace, is that me teaching becomes my structure, my steadiness. And now what are the avenues that I can start to explore that are going to take my passion, my love of the philosophy and the history and and the movement and all of the techniques? What are the other avenues that I can start to take that are really going to help fill my cup?
Well, because the teaching part of it probably starts to get repetitive. Absolutely. And that's totally okay. Me photographing, I do 1,000+ headshots a year on a black background and a white background. Like, I could probably do it with my eyes closed, which, and I say the same thing. I've been to how many of your classes? Probably 50 to 60, maybe 100 at this point. I've been to a lot of your classes. And there are certain things you say every time. I go to your classes because there's a rhythm, because there's a consistency, there's a cadence, there's an artistry, there's a mastery to the way that you lead a class. I hope that there's a mastery to a way that I lead a shoot. But when you have mastery, there's not as much space for the nuance of creativity or artistry. Now, it's not that you don't experience that at times when you, like, I know that I can tell when you're in a class and you're like flowing and you're like, oh, this just feels right now. And like everyone in this room will follow me here if I go. But you also know that you've had classes where experimenting is not possible. And you're limited by the constraints of being a professional. And so when we play with that, it's like the artist and the professional. Well, I'm a professional artist. What does that mean?
Yeah, I coming from my theater days, like being a professional actor at one point, like, great, I get to put that on my taxes is what my occupation is. And what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, what did I do? I embodied other bodies.
Right. So you said you were a performance artist at one point. I'm curious.
Is that shocking to you all?
Not really.
I don't think it'd be shocking to you at all.
No,
you know me pretty well at this point.
Can Can you speak a little bit more to that, as like what pulled you in? What kind of experiments were you
Running?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you first about my first successful performance art piece, or the one that I remember that started the whole thing. But I went to school for photography. I didn't go to school to do performance art. But as I got into it, I'm not a natural photographer. Photography is a very technical thing. I am a natural people person. So it was very hard for me to learn the technical aspects, and I went to a very technical grad school, and I felt left behind a lot, or like left out of the conversation because I wasn't interested. I was also I'm pretty quiet naturally. This iteration of myself is an evolution, but I can be by myself for weeks at a time and not talk to anybody and be perfectly pleased with that existence. So I found that self-portraiture was a great way to not expose the fact that I didn't understand the camera at the same level that everybody else did. And I could make as many mistakes as I wanted to, and I would just figure it out. So I spent hours and hours in the studio by myself, documenting myself and like just learning how to use the camera by photographing myself. And then there was something, I took a video class, and there was something so real about video. I can perfect a photo. I can perfect you in a photo. I can put you exactly, and you do it. I photographed you, I put your chin, your body, everything. But you can't fake a video the same way. The bad angle happens. And what I found that I loved was pushing myself, or pushing the experience to the limit in front of the camera. And I was studying a lot of feminist performance artists, and a lot of the people that really created this genre. And so my first video was I went to like a La James, like a beauty school, and I got my hair all done like horribly. I was like, I want like 90s prom. So like ringlety hair, and I have a lot of hair. So like huge, and I was like, I want purple eyeshadow. I want to look terrible when I melt. And I'm wearing a tiara, and I wish I still had it, but I had like a pink 90s prom dress, like like big bow, like off the shoulder, like exactly what you think. And I had rented out the grad school stage, and I filmed myself jump roping for 30 minutes. So for 30 minutes, I jump roped. I roped, whatever, that tense.
Yeah.
I did that. And I had done like a test run and was like, oh, okay, this is a lot. But the whole point of this video was to watch her disintegrate, watch the performance disintegrate. And I took it from 3 different angles. I took like a headshot that was just like my head and chest, and you couldn't really see the rope. I took it from far away, and I think I took one of my feet. And as I was reviewing the footage, what I found was I liked the close-up shot where you couldn't even see the rope, but you just see that she has to keep going. She's continuing to go. She's falling apart. She's a mess. And then you're watching this girl continuing to jump rope for 30 minutes. And if you've ever jumped rope, that's a long time. And I'm not particularly someone who like looks like they could jump rope for 30 minutes. I mean, at that time I didn't. Maybe I do now, but that's like athletic behavior right there. And I had a rule that I could only stop for 5 seconds. So I would count to 5, and then I would have to get going again. And so you just watch me continue to devolve. And so most of my performance art was around the performance of the good girl and what it takes to maintain the facade of the feminine. So yeah, I have a little bit of experience about talking about the facade of the feminine. So that was
just
one.
Just keep going.
Yep, just keep going through it all. Break down, but like smile.
Keep smiling.
Yeah. Keep smiling. Keep smiling. Just right here. And so
doesn't matter if you're breathing or not.
Yep. Doesn't matter if you twist an ankle. Doesn't matter. You just keep going. So another one that I did, that was my first one. The last one that I produced before my thesis show was I set up a blue background. It was all very about color and like really just focusing on the person, like me, but I was more of an archetype in these circumstances. And I really wanted to do something about a relationship with food, but I didn't want to come at it from a space of lack because that's not my personal story. I am greedy with food. I consume food. Like it's not safer. I don't feel safe around food. And so I wanted to, well, that's changing now, but I wanted to do something that talked about that without like eating carrot sticks, because that would be the comfortable thing to do. So I get on a white dress, I get like demure white gloves, I set like a proper table, like it's beautiful. And then I got 26 huge wings, like wings, like, you know, dinosaur barbecue wings, or like that's what it was in Rochester, New York, but like, you know, like saucy wings. And I ate all of them. The thing was, I had to eat all of them. And so I ate all of them in about 12 minutes. And you watch me at first, like you, at first, the first 6, you're like, yeah, we're having a great time with these chicken wings. And then by like 10 or 12, I'm gagging. And you see the sauce just start to stain my gloves. I still have the gloves, by the way. And at the end, you just see like being gorged and like the illness that comes, and you just keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and you ruin the facade. So yeah, I used to do stuff like that. Yeah.
Any plans for the future?
Well,
Coming back to that?
Actually just thinking about this, I had a thought. But you know how I'm approaching my personal social media now. I did a video when I was in Bali, and I just started recording myself again. And I posted it, and I posted a video of myself eating with my hands. Because you eat with your hands a lot in Asia, but like I was always handed utensils because I'm a white lady. So of course they thought I would, and I was like, screw it. I'm going to eat with my fingers. And I'm like licking my fingers, and I'm just thinking about like all the times my mother was like, don't lick your fingers. Like I was brought up in a very etiquette forward household. And that night I was by myself, and I posted this video, and then I wrote this whole thing in the caption about like, I used to be a performance artist. I don't tell anybody this. And so now what I'm doing is I'm just playing with my Instagram feed as performance art, because that's what it is. That's what we're doing. We think about it as content, but I'm so completely done producing content, because I think it's, at this point, most of us aren't going to be seen with content anyway. Like it's just noise. And so I've really started to think about my anything I put out there that has my visual self in it as performance art, and it's been really fun. It's actually changed the whole game. I actually want to be on social media now because I think about it in a different way.
Yeah, one of the things that has gone through my mind as far as social media is it's not a business. It's no longer content. It's my message. It's who I am, and what qualities that are in my heart and soul, and how can I put that out into the universe, as opposed to like going back to the good girl.
The polished, like, there's so many people. I have two sides to my business. There's the photo side, which, most of that content is just sharing photos of our clients. That works really well. But then I have the Enneagram side, and there's so many Enneagram practitioners that put out like, here's what a 1 does, and a 2 does, and a 3 does. And I'm like, I just can't care. Because other people are doing that really well. Whereas like if I put out me, and then you can look up all the Enneagram stuff online. I'm just not I'm not interested in producing content, especially when I understand that I am the content. And I'm willing to take that risk. It's much riskier to be the content than to create it.
So as you've moved through life and being a artist and a entrepreneur and doing all the things, when you've bumped up against the challenges, the obstacles,
is it ever just a bump?
Maybe it depends on the day.
Right.
It depends on the
just
moment.
Rubbed up against a challenge.
What's the rub? What's the agitation? What's the fire to the face? Do you have any tips, tricks, things in your back pocket? Because I feel like you've got a huge chest of tools. that you're able to bring forward of how to navigate. So it's, we're all in this human vessel, this full continuum of living human. So we've all had those waves. We've all had those moments. We've all had the challenges. What are some of your favorite ones to bring forth and perhaps offer up?
Yeah. My favorite tools in my tool chest are the people that love me most. And leaning all the way in on those relationships and going all the way with the people that have proven they can catch me. And I didn't think there were that many of them. Like the old version of me did not think that people could catch me. So in order to, my evolution has been seeing all the people that are strong around me, letting them be strong in the ways that they are strong and I am not, and allowing myself to fall into the net of their love and grace and acceptance. Most of us don't want other people to see us in the circumstances that, at least that I'll say for me, it was the greatest show of strength to show my team myself all of last year. I mean, I was the one crying on every single phone call. They were like, okay, we got, at some point I learned to trust them so much that they actually got to see me. And so many of us try to go through this entrepreneurial journey or this life journey, white knuckling our feelings, not letting anybody see, not letting anybody into the process because we don't want to be hurt doubly. But I think it's also a way of shutting out being healed wholly. Like there's nothing I can't do now because I fully fell back. Fully, if they had not been there, I would have landed below the ground. And I'm good now. I don't know, nothing. I'm just I don't think anything really matters anymore. I don't think the failures matter. I don't know. Something happened last year and I was voice texting a friend and I was like, I don't know if I am healed or just real, real broken, but I feel like nothing can get a rise out of me because it's all just going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because I am supported.
Yeah. One of the images that I've had in meditations and just in my journey is the falling and being caught. And there's been just this idea that's gone through my head so many times is that upon the greatest fall comes the greatest initiation. And what is that initiation? And mine has been this life of more. My favorite life. It's the more love, the more joy, the more gratitude, the abundance, and stepping into that fully, as scary as it can be.
What's so scary about more? As someone who generally comes from a place of too much, I'm actually less. So what is so scary about more for you?
Ooh. I think in this lifetime, and I'm going to get a little weird.
Let's go. Woo, let's get it done. It wouldn't be a Steffi podcast without a little weird.
Okay, this is not my first rodeo. I've been on this earth or in some sort of form before. And I think this lifetime, it truly was leading me through a very karmic relationship that I diminished myself to the point where I was barely a flicker. Because in the past, when I did step into my true full power, that's when I was persecuted. And I feel like I was burned at the stake. So healing that wound in this lifetime. And so there's a little bit of hesitation, like, what if I am too much? And then I have to say, well,
yeah, but you were already burned and you're still here.
Right. And I remember a time 2 years ago feeling that same way and being down on my knees. And what came out of that was one of the greatest falls, the greatest initiations. And it was, here's your shake up to wake up. Here's your midlife awakening.
I always think about the phoenix.
Mm.
Like for me, that's that, you know, you think about the witch burning at the stake. Well,
Mm-hmm.
does she come back as the phoenix?
Mm-hmm.
And is that it?
And that's been an image that has
Mhm.
continued to pop up in my life,
Mhm.
whether it's like choosing a tarot card
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
phoenix pops up, or
Mhm.
like cloud formations.
Mhm. Mhm.
And maybe that's why I'm so taken with the sunrises or sunsets.
Mm.
It's that
Mhm.
that parallel.
Well, the rebirth, the coming back alive, coming
Yeah.
back alive,
Yeah.
and the story. You know, I think it's when we have that too much story, and I think it I don't know if it's. I'm sure it's not exclusively feminine. I just hear it coming a lot from the feminine, but I've certainly had the too much story, and I'm someone who lives very loudly. So, but I've always heard from the people I trust most. I've always heard more, 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 more. It's just my head telling me, pull back, don't say that, don't. Whenever I just let it rip, people are like, yeah, girl. And I'm like, oh. And there's been times when I've let it rip and it ripped me. It ripped me. But it didn't, like, not the people who I care about their opinions. That's the thing that I really had to get clear about is whose opinion do I care about? Well, there's about 5 people. And if they good, I'm good. And when I got clear about that, because like the population, you know, we live in the Midwest. We live with there's a lot of things that we're not supposed to do. We're not supposed to want. We're not supposed to say. And I have felt that. And I'm not good at following along. But I think I'm also really good at faking following along. And that's it, coming back to the artist is like the artist pushes the boundaries. The artist does critical comment. The artist both participates and examines. That was an interesting feedback I got from one of my grad school professors that I eventually asked to get off of my committee because he did not understand what I was doing apparently. But he said, well, you can't both participate in something and critique it. And I was like, what are you doing in life then? Like I didn't have the mental, you know, I'm 22 trying to mentally go head to head with this 44-year-old professor. And I was just like, you're wrong, but I don't know how to articulate this to you. But if you're not in it, should you even be critiquing it? Do you even know? Like, who better to articulate the good girl than the girl that grew up and perfected it? I don't want someone who hasn't been the good girl telling me that I suck. I know from personal experience how bad it sucks.
And I think there's space to hold both. And that's part of being human and growing in that capacity of the good, the bad, the ugly, the neutral. It's living in the state of both and. And I know for me, that's something that I continue to embrace.
Well, if we can't enjoy our darkness, like now when I have my sad days and I just need all my sad music on Sunday. I don't know what on Sunday I was in hot yoga and the instructor had Landslide on during Shavasana and I was like, what cruel human picked that song? And I was just so thankful that I was so sweaty. And as the tears are just sliding down my face, I'm like, yeah, change. I can cry about it. And now I like relish crying and having that moment and having that release and having that reset and just accepting it and being like, yeah, I'm sad for today. Tomorrow I'll probably be really good because I was sad for today. And that they're both true.
And because change is the only constant, the reaction to it,
well,
or the embrace of it.
I mean, the better you embrace change, the better that's how I think about living my favorite life. Is in order to live a life of contentment or happiness or whatever joy, it is all about how you embrace change. I mean, data will show you that people who embrace change faster live happier, more joyful lives because flexible personalities are healthier personalities. The more flexibly you're willing to see yourself, what you're attached to. So people who practice non-attachment, all of that, it just means you're going to have a more joyful life because there's nothing outside of you that's you. You don't have to have any of it. And the more I've just been like, Airbnb'd my house, and I told my team, I was like, everything is up for negotiation. Every single part of my identity. And I mean every single part of my identity. Any part that you can like think about, I'm like, I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to experience all of the different things that could be possible in here. And I might not pick the one that I've been picking for 37 years. And that's scaring a lot of people, but it's been really fun for me. Like, where do I want to live? I don't know. We're going to visit a ton of different cities and states and countries and find out. It might be Des Moines. It might be not Des Moines.
Right.
Who knows?
So do you have future travel plans?
Oh, always.
Oh, okay.
Come on now. Yeah, I go to Kansas City a lot, which is, not considered travel, but I have a piece of my business that happens there. Boston, Austin. I have a gig in Austin coming up. My next big travel plan is going to be, I'm planning Amsterdam, the Netherlands. I want to interview it as a possible landing space. I'd love to live some sort of bi-coastal life. I have such a rich, beautiful life here in Des Moines, but I know that when I travel and when I experience global spaces, which Amsterdam is, that like I just come alive in a whole new, different way. And I love experiencing the all of the ideologies and all of the different cultures coming in at the same time. So I'm looking at places that really offer me that experience.
Nice. Other than the travel, the word artist, was just reminded of another word that you had dropped the other day that was a little bit surprising. Do you remember what you...
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we can talk about that. Let's go.
So the whole, like, talking about be more, and then the pulling back and be less and be less. And the word that you used was underachiever.
Yeah. Because know who's a bad girl? The underachiever. Like I have, I said, we were talking at yoga, and I was like, yeah, this is my year of being an underachiever. I am an under-contributor. I'm going to disappoint people. I am going to be less because or I'll probably be more, but like I'm going to insert myself less and see how other people do without me. Because part of my personality downfall is that I carry too much for too many. I can carry an entire relation. I can fill in all of the holes that are happening over here easily, to the point where I don't even notice, but it's an energetic thing. And like I was at a dinner party with 20 women were there. I did not need to go into that kitchen and be one of the 12 people that were cleaning up. It was handled. Normally, I could not go into that kitchen. I would have to be stacking dishes because I'd have to be useful. I'd have to prove that I should be there. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not proving that I deserve to be here. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to show up. I showed up late. I didn't bring anything to pass around. I did bring the hostess a gift because I am not uncouth. I mean, I was raised well. I brought a hostess gift. But I was like, I'm showing up late. I'm not like, I am literally just going to receive. And I think that there's something when you start to be an underachiever and you maybe aren't the one, and when you start to be an under-contributor, I'm realizing like, oh, I actually get to receive when I take myself out of the constant giver equation. And I do not need to move at the pace that I have moved for the past 9 years. I understand how wild it has been for the people around me. And so now my thing is I'm doing one thing a week. Like I do one thing a week that moves one of my businesses forward. And that is the only thing, other than whatever's on my calendar and like little stuff that pops up, that I am accountable to. It's the only thing that my team checks in on. Before I would have had like, here's the 10 things that I need to get done. And like, I couldn't get them done because I was so overwhelmed. Or I did, and I was just losing my head. And so now it's just one thing a week. Guess what? It's getting done really well. So I'm just thinking that being an underachiever is just going to make me happier. That's really the only goal. I don't really care if I achieve anything. I just want to live in joy while it happens.
Yeah. And how has been the aspect of receiving
Mm.
for you?
Yeah. It has not felt super safe to receive in my life.
Mhm.
There's been a lot of strings attached when I
Mhm.
received love, gifts, whatever, anything that you can receive.
Mm-hmm.
I've been practicing this in all areas of my life, and it's vulnerable to receive. It is so vulnerable because what my personality immediately tries to do is, oh, okay, well then I need to make sure that I pay this back. I need to make sure that they don't have the upper hand. I need to make sure that they don't think I'm needy or that I can't. And I'm like, let them think that I'm needy. What if I was? What if for 1 minute of my life I was needy? What if for 1 minute of my life I was the person that couldn't do it? First of all, it'd shock the shit out of everybody. But that's what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just not offering. Like anytime I would offer, I'd be like, no. I'm not going to do it.
And there's so much freedom in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's that liberation
Mm-hmm.
of saying no, because when you say yes, how many of the things are you saying no to?
Yeah.
Like all those things that might be important or urgent, all those 10 things on the calendar. Okay, what are all the things that I might be?
What do I actually want to do? Where am I actually receiving instead of giving? And when you're a business owner, you're called to give over and over and over again, especially when you're a small business owner and you're part of a community. I mean, I put a stop to like silent auction gifts. I'm like, no. I did that for 5 years. There's no good reciprocity there.
Mm-hmm.
And I would come up with a whole different system for supporting. And I actually did. I came up with a whole different system for supporting the nonprofits I care about that was reciprocal and respectful of both parties. But it also like allowed me to receive. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, but receiving is vulnerable.
Yeah.
You have to, if in order to receive, you have to believe you are worthy, which there's a softness in receiving that I definitely didn't have up until it's really been the past 6-ish months.
And letting go of the limiting belief of I'm not worthy or I'm not enough. And wherever that may have come up, I know I've held on to that and again, trying to let that one go. Like, for fuck's sake, yes, I am worthy.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I don't have that conversation that much. That's not mine. I think it's a lot of people, but it's not mine. Mine has been about being put on the pedestal, being more worthy. And because a lot of people will give me that also. Immediately hand the mic over, immediately hand the responsibility over, immediately. Like the second I walk into their room, people are just like, oh, you. And so I had to take myself, like, I've been like, no, off the pedestal, y'all. Like, I can't, I won't, I'm not, like, I'll do it, you'll do it better. That might not be true, but like, if I don't let you climb onto that stool, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be up here, like, looking down. I want either we're all on the stool or we're all on the floor. Like, I don't care, pick one. But for me, it was a different kind of leveling out. And that was also about really accepting the support and love around me, is like really thinking about my life as a circle. People are around me. And so making sure that the people that are around me really feel empowered to take care of me. Because I think there was a lot of stories of like, well, how would I do that? How would I even do that? You are so capable. You are da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, that doesn't support me, actually. For you to look at me in awe does nothing for me. It actually just makes me feel really alone. So that's been an interesting thing to navigate. And it's hard when you build a personal brand or you do the things that I do. I do find myself in a mentoring position a lot of times. But my closest friendships call me out, don't buy in, don't flatter me, don't like, they're the people that are like, your shit stinks too. And I'm like, yeah, it does. At least twice a day.
And there's that whole loop of in the giving is the receiving, and the giving is really receiving. Yeah. words of wisdom that you would give someone who might be in the throes of a struggle, obstacles, like how do I navigate my life? How do I shine my light?
How do I shine my light? Is that the question? Well, Steffi, what do I always tell you? What is my biggest, like, if what is one of the biggest things I've said to you? And I can say it again if you want. Yeah. I know you love being put on the spot. Just do it. Like, if you want to shine your light, then you just do. And I think what often gets in the way is, I think where I'm maybe, I don't know, lucky or blessed or whatever, my orientation towards my feelings is to dismiss them. Not a great tactic, in some ways, but it does allow me to just do the things that I want to do. And I think when you're a very emotionally led person, it is much harder to just do it because the wave of the feeling feels very real, but it's not as real as the concrete thing that you produce or create. And maybe this is getting more into the masculine, but like the feminine gets to ride the wave into consistency. And so a lot of what's helped me build confidence or maintain or create in my life is saying, here are my non-negotiables. Here's what I do no matter what. Here's what matters to me. And if it really matters, there's not a feeling, person, a bit of feedback. Like, I will take feedback, I will consider feedback, but it won't stop me. And so I would say stop negotiating with yourself. That would be my answer. Stop negotiating. If you want something, you set it up and you knock down the dominoes. And that is my very type 8 Enneagram response. Just get it done. But also know that you're going to be doing things while you don't feel like it. That is part of the process of being an entrepreneur, if that's who's listening, or being human. If you want things, you do them whether you feel like it or not, because I don't feel like doing half of the stuff I need to do every day. But I want the end result. And I know the feeling will pass, and I will have the thing I did longer than I'll have that feeling.
For me, that brings up the quality of fierce grace, that I'm going to show up no matter what capacity I might be at. I'm a big feeler, so my emotions tend
I know, my girl. I know.
I'm a highly sensitive being. But can I show up however I am and have those moments of grace where, yes, I can soften. And one of my inquiries of late is, wherever I do land on this continuum of feeling, emotion, sensation even, can I find contentment? And for me, that's been part of this, like, the fierce grace. Like,
can it just be? And, maybe not look at it so closely. I think we tend to think that our feelings have tons of information in them. They don't a lot of times. They're, like, a lot of times a biological response. Like, it's our hormones. And we make up that it means more. And I'm like, oh, like, like right now, I feel like, I'm 2 steps above a troll because I'm 1 day out from my period. Like, in 3 days, I'm going to feel like the most gorgeous person that has ever, in, a week and a half, I'm going to feel so beautiful that I can possibly, like, that's how much it's not, like, that's how much, especially women, can vary in how we feel and how we interpret the world. And so I'm always like, listen, this is a moment. We'll just let it go. And being sensitive is a superpower if it doesn't overtake you. If it's droplets of information. My sensitivity is absolutely my greatest superpower. Ooh, but I think part of the work is not taking your sensitivity personally. Like, just letting it be rather than letting it be you.
I think that's part of the wound that I'm healing, is that because I'm highly sensitive, yes, highly emotional, sensitive to other people's energy.
Yep.
And so taking on their shit when it's not my responsibility. So one of my mantras, and I told you earlier, is love more and care less.
Yeah.
I care about people. I care about things. and your reaction is your reaction. Your
Yeah.
story, your narrative is yours.
Yeah.
But I will love the shit out of you.
I will love you sometimes from afar. I've learned that some people I get to love from afar. I get to love silently. There's a lot of people that I have chosen to now love silently because loving them up close was not a safe thing, really, for either of us, but definitely not for me. And I love the thought of caring less, but like I struggle very much with taking on other people's emotions, and what I've come to with that is this space of when I realize that other people's emotions really have nothing to do with me, and it's all self-generated, and it's all generated from stories that existed before I existed in their life, and I am just there witnessing it or evoking it, then I was able to really be with people in a whole new way and not take them on, not experience what they were experiencing, not try to fix it or correct it. I'm just like, oh, cool, you are doing that. And I'm just going to watch you. I don't have to impact it. I don't have to change it. I don't have to channel it. And what I've found is that actually that energy of just the whole, I mean, you call it holding space, but I think we've gotten a little convoluted on what that actually is. Because I'm like, everybody uses that term. But it's like, yeah, what does that mean? I mean, to me, it means I witness you being you. But what it doesn't mean to me is letting people tear themselves down and having to bear witness to that. Like, I'm not going to hold space for someone, like in my photography studio, I do not hold space for people to talk negatively about themselves. I will not. That is not space that I hold. I will hold space for you to be vulnerable and courageous and not speak your fears into existence, because that's how you get your energy, your anxiety out. And so, like, that to me is like, so many people are like, I hold space for these people complaining. And I'm like, I don't hold space for complaining, because that's holding space for negative energy that doesn't support anybody. If you decide you want to complain, you can either complain to somebody that wants to live in that shit, or just we'll change it into how we can change it. But that's your work. I'm just here to hold my space with you.
I'll hold my love.
Yeah.
Love is the greatest alchemist. So
just be here staring at your amazingness until you're like, yeah, I am.
The one thing that I recently heard was, I believe it was a Christian mystic, and like one of his greatest gifts was the ability to hold space and bear witness to people's confessions. Like, and then be able to, because of that space he created, like, okay, they were able to alchemize all their stuff themselves.
Yeah. Well, think about that. In order to listen and not act, think about all of the fears. When I'll say this from my perspective, because I only have the one. The greatest journey that I've been on is to listen to somebody's problems and not act or solve or create or take on. And in understanding that that's my fear. My fear of losing control or not being in control or being impacted by this person's decisions is now causing me to interject in their life. And so what a beautiful thing. I'm still very terrible at it. But like the moments that I can just be like really with someone and do nothing and give them what they need to do whatever it is they need to do, that's powerful. The people who just do that, who can just sit, I'm like, you have reached some sort of Yoda status that I don't know that I will ever achieve. Maybe in my next lifetime. But those are to me, those are the most powerful people, because they have conquered their own fear in relationship to others. And so that means that you can no longer impact my emotional state. That's freedom. That might be me living my favorite life. Just to round it out.
Mic drop.
Seems like a pretty good place to wrap it up.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to come in and chat, and your vulnerability to show up and continue to live your favorite life.
It's the only one I got. Until the next one.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. This is an absolute blast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.